The Big Valley pulled audiences into the wild Western drama of the powerful Barkley family. But behind the glamour, many talented stars from the series have passed away. From sudden illnesses to shocking scandals, they left this world in ways we could never have imagined. In this story, we pay tribute to the cast members who are no longer with us, honoring their legacy and the lasting impact they left on screen. Barbara Stanwyck as Victoria Barkley. Barbara Stanwyck, born Ruby Catherine Stevens on July 16, 1907, in Brooklyn, New York, took on the iconic role of Victoria Barkley in the Western TV series The Big Valley in 1965, when she was 58 years old. As the widowed matriarch leading the wealthy and powerful Barkley family in 19th-century California, Stanwyck embodied strength, conviction, and unwavering resilience. But behind her calm, commanding presence was a life marked by tragedy. When she was just 4 years old, Stanwyck witnessed her mother being pushed off a streetcar by a drunk man, resulting in a premature birth and death. Her father abandoned the family shortly after, leaving her and her brother to be raised in foster homes, often separated. All she knew was survival and work. She entered show business at 16 as a Ziegfeld dancer and quickly became a fierce icon of American cinema. With more than 85 films and powerhouse performances in Double Indemnity and Stella Dallas, she earned the nickname the Queen of Hollywood without a crown. In the 1940s, she was the highest-paid actress in the U.S. Her net worth was estimated at $10 million when she passed, but it came at a heavy cost. Her first marriage to actor Frank Fay was plagued by violence, alcoholism, and disappointment. Allegedly infertile due to a teenage abortion, she adopted a son, but raised him so strictly that he later severed ties. Her second marriage to leading man Robert Taylor was rumored to be arranged by MGM to soften public opinion. The couple eventually divorced after years of emotional distance, and Stanwyck never remarried. According to co-star Linda Evans, she called Taylor the love of her life and was devastated by his death in 1969. In 1981, Stanwyck was attacked in her own home and robbed of $40,000 worth of jewelry. While filming The Thornbirds in 1982, she inhaled smoke from special effects that triggered severe bronchitis, made worse by a smoking habit she began at age 9. Though she quit 4 years before her death, her lungs were irreparably damaged. She died on January 20, 1990, at the age of 82, from heart failure and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Her ashes were scattered over Lone Pine, land forever tied to the Western films that made her a legend. Richard Long as Jared Barkley. Richard McCord Long, born December 17, 1927, was one of television's most familiar faces in the 1960s. In 1965, when he was 38 years old, he took on the role of Jared Barkley, the dignified, intellectual eldest brother of the Barkley family in the Big Valley. Across 112 episodes, Jared symbolized reason in the midst of chaos, a near-perfect role which sharply contrasted with Long's real-life struggles. Few knew that behind his handsome face and warm voice was a deeply wounded soul. Richard Long's life was marked by pain, addiction, violence, and a fragile heart, both emotionally and physically. In 1954, he married young actress Susan Ball, who had just undergone a leg amputation due to cancer. Just 14 months later, Susan died in Long's arms at age 22. Her death left a permanent void in his heart. He later married model Mara Corday and had 3 children, but that marriage fractured under the weight of alcoholism and violent outbursts. In 1961, Long was arrested for assaulting his wife during a drunken episode. Though Mara withdrew the charges and forgave him, the damage was done. His career also suffered from his addiction. He would often show up to set intoxicated, slur his lines, forget dialogue, and act erratically. Warner Brothers eventually canceled his contract, Still, he fought to revive his career with roles in Nanny and The Professor and other TV shows, including directing 2 episodes of The Big Valley, a final push to reclaim his status. Long had suffered from pneumonia as a child, damaging his heart. Years of alcohol abuse and stress only worsened his condition. He suffered his first heart attack in 1961. In December 1974, after a month of ongoing heart issues, Richard Long died on December 21, 1974, just 4 days after his 47th birthday. Peter Breck as Nick Barkley. Peter Breck, born Joseph. Peter Breck, on March 13, 1929, in Rochester, New York, became a national sensation in 1965, when he was 36 years old, playing Nick Barkley, the hot-tempered ranch foreman who solved problems with fists, not words, in the Big Valley. Much like his on-screen character, Peter Breck lived a turbulent, lonely, and shadowed life. After his parents divorced when he was 8, Breck was separated from his younger brother for more than 20 years. After World War II, he served in the Navy, then played professional basketball before diving into acting and studying method acting with intense dedication. That very intensity earned him a reputation for being difficult. On the set of The Big Valley, he once punched a fellow actor for disrespecting Nick Barkley during a break. Nick's rage wasn't just for the screen, it lived within Peter too, which led many producers to avoid casting him after the show ended. From the height of TV fame, his career slipped into B-movies, horror films, and obscure European projects. Off-screen, Breck's decades-long marriage to dancer Diane Bourne was marred by rumors of emotional distance. They had one son, Christopher, but joy was fleeting. Christopher died from leukemia at age 30, a loss Peter never recovered from. In his final years, Peter opened a small acting school in Vancouver, Canada, hoping to keep his passion alive. But even that faded. In 2010, his wife confirmed Peter had been diagnosed with dementia. He passed away on February 6, 2012, in Vancouver at the age of 82. Douglas Kennedy as Sheriff Fred Madden. Douglas Richards Kennedy, born on September 14, 1915, was a familiar face to American television audiences through hundreds of supporting roles in westerns, crime dramas, and science fiction series. In 1965, when he was 50 years old, he portrayed Sheriff Fred Madden in The Big Valley, starring alongside Barbara Stanwyck as Victoria Barkley. Kennedy projected a cold, authoritative image, but behind the TV spotlight, his real life was marked by fractures few could have imagined. Kennedy was reportedly a heavy alcoholic, which led to frequent tardiness, emotional instability, and difficulty remembering his lines on set. Many directors ended up cutting his roles at the last minute, limiting him to minor parts in shows like Perry Mason, Rescue 8, Colt .45, and Hawaii Five-0, where he made his final screen appearance in 1973. His personal life was also rife with controversy. Rumors circulated that Kennedy had numerous affairs while filming away from home. He was even sued for fathering an illegitimate child in Arizona, a scandal that severely tarnished his reputation. His marriage to Isabel Russell was repeatedly scrutinized by tabloids for suspected domestic violence. Though they had one son, Douglas Kennedy Jr., Kennedy rarely mentioned his son in public interviews. Toward the end of his life, Kennedy relocated to Hawaii to film Hawaii Five-0. There, his health declined rapidly. On August 10, 1973, he died of cancer at the age of 57. He was laid to rest at the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific in Honolulu, alongside many U.S. veterans. Paul Sorenson as Dave Sloan. Paul Sorenson, born on February 16, 1926, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, was one of the most recognizable character actors on American television from the 1950s through the 1980s. In 1965, when he was 39 years old, he played Dave Sloan, a quiet but tough blacksmith in the Big Valley. Though a minor character, the role reflected the typecast that Hollywood had assigned him: gruff, temperamental, and unapproachable. Off-screen, Sorenson's life was filled with fractures and scandals few ever saw. After graduating from Pasadena Playhouse and serving 15 months in the Korean War, he returned to Hollywood and slowly built a career playing authority figures, cops, border agents, or rugged cowboys. He appeared in shows like Dallas, The Brady Bunch, Gunsmoke, The Virginian, and Perry Mason, but was never offered a major leading role, perhaps in part due to his difficult personality. Many in the industry spoke of Sorenson's hostility and arrogance. He was known for showing little respect on set, publicly berating directors, and calling younger actors useless and passionless. One infamous incident occurred during the filming of Bonanza, when Sorenson was rumored to have had an affair with a stunt actress, a scandal that temporarily drove his wife, Jacqueline, away and damaged his public image. In 1973, he was investigated for alleged tax evasion. Though the matter was handled quietly and no charges were filed, the controversy effectively shut many career doors. Directors who once worked with him began to avoid him, preferring to cast lesser-known actors rather than deal with Sorenson's outsized ego. However, his life took an unexpected turn in the late 1980s. Sorenson retired from acting and, along with his wife and one of their sons, became an ordained minister. He ran a church and taught acting in his local community, perhaps finally finding the peace that had eluded him for decades. After his wife passed away in 2002, Sorenson lived a reclusive life until his death on July 17, 2008, in California, at the age of 82. Mark Tapscott as Bates. Mark Loren Tapscott, born on December 15, 1924 in Bell, California, was known to television viewers for his role as Bates, the loyal, quiet assistant in the Big Valley, first appearing in 1966 when he was 42 years old. Bates was an essential part of the Barkley Ranch landscape, devoted, humble, and always on the side of justice, much like the life Mark once lived. After the death of his first wife, Frances, in 1969, Mark remarried Sybil Line, but the darkness inside him began to grow. A gambling addiction that had simmered since his military service became destructive when he fell deep into underground poker games in Los Angeles. Massive debts led to both emotional and financial ruin, prompting Sybil to leave him in 1983. Rumors circulated that he had fathered a child out of wedlock, but Tapscott never publicly acknowledged it. The 1970s and 1980s were a bleak era for his career. Rejected from over 150 roles, Mark turned to coaching young actors in voice training just to get by. Colleagues recalled that he often showed up to class intoxicated, yet remained dedicated and kind to his students. In his final years, Tapscott lived quietly in California, no longer appearing on screen. Mark Tapscott died on September 10, 1993, in Los Angeles County at the age of 68. Perhaps that's how he wanted to be remembered, not as a star, but as a man. Honest, wounded, and imperfect. Bing Russell as Clint Erdan Kelsey. Bing Russell, born Neil Oliver Russell on May 5, 1926, in Brattleboro, Vermont, played the role of Clint Erdan Kelsey in the Big Valley in 1965, when he was 39 years old, one of hundreds of supporting roles he took on during a career that spanned nearly 5 decades. Though Bing pursued acting and appeared in popular series like Bonanza, Gunsmoke, The Twilight Zone, The Virginian, and The Big Valley, everything changed in 1973 after multiple terminations from sets. He completely pivoted toward his second passion, baseball. Bing founded the Portland Mavericks, an independent semi-pro team with an unusual philosophy: play for fun, not for profit. His rebellious spirit made him a legend in American baseball and a nuisance to the pros. But when Major League Baseball reclaimed his territory, they were forced to pay him $206,000 in compensation. That sum, along with smart investments and connections to his famous son Kurt Russell, helped Bing build an estimated net worth of around $1 million. Yet his personal life wasn't as smooth as his baseball career. In 1974, he had an affair with a young actress, straining his marriage to Louise Lulu Crone, whom he had married in 1946. One of his daughters reportedly cut off contact, claiming he was distant and controlling. Despite having a movie star son, Kurt Russell, and a grandson, Wyatt Russell, also an actor, Bing was still rumored to be a shadowy father figure. He died on April 8, 2003, in Thousand Oaks, California, at the age of 76, after a long battle with cancer. His Mavericks team would later be featured in the 2014 documentary The Battered Bastards of Baseball, preserving the legacy of a man who lived and played by his own rules. Walker Edmiston as Barney. Walker Robert Edmiston, born on February 6, 1926, in St. Louis, Missouri, was one of the most beloved voice actors and puppeteers in American television during the mid-20th century. In 1965, when he was 39 years old, he appeared in the series The Big Valley as Barney, a quiet, dedicated investigator who carried a silent depth. Edmiston was the heart of countless children's programs, such as The Walker Edmiston Show, Time for Beanie, and Dumbo's Circus. He was the father of many iconic puppet characters like Kingsley the Lion and Callie the Cat. Despite his vast contributions to popular culture, Edmiston's personal life was shrouded in darkness. After the death of his wife Evelyn in 1998, he became more reclusive, though even before that, his family life had already been far from peaceful. One of his two daughters accused him of being excessively controlling during her upbringing, leading to a strained father-daughter relationship. That pain was deepened in the late 1970s when Edmiston suffered a severe breakdown after losing a major television contract, an ordeal that culminated in a suicide attempt kept out of public record. Walker Edmiston died of cancer on February 15, 2007, in Woodland Hills, California, at the age of 81. He was a gifted artist, yet also a man eclipsed by the very characters he created, characters who were always cheerful while he collapsed in silence. Bill Quinn as George Allison. William Tyrrell. Bill Quinn was born on May 6, 1912, in New York City. In 1965, when he was 53 years old, he joined the Big Valley as Dr. George Allison, the calm, courteous, and wise physician who healed the Barkley family's wounds. But few knew that in real life, Bill carried emotional scars that never truly healed. Anderson's career had been steadily building long before that. In the early 1950s, he signed with the powerhouse studio MGM and later transitioned to 20th Century Fox, where he appeared in a string of notable films. Among them were the science fiction classic Forbidden Planet and Stanley Kubrick's anti-war masterpiece Paths of Glory, in which Anderson delivered a performance that hinted at his range and depth as an actor. Though he had earned the respect of industry insiders, it wasn't until the 1970s that his fame truly exploded. From 1974 to 1978, Anderson starred as Oscar Goldman, the cool-headed government official in The $6 Million Man, and its spin-off, The Bionic Woman. His portrayal of Goldman, authoritative, trustworthy, and enigmatic, resonated with millions of viewers and turned him into a household name. The role became so iconic that it defined the latter half of his career and opened doors beyond acting. From 1976 to 1982, he became the face of the popular Shell Answer Man campaign, where his steady demeanor and articulate delivery made him one of the most recognized commercial spokesmen of the time. With consistent TV work and endorsement deals, his net worth by the end of his life was estimated to be around $3 million, a substantial figure for a television actor of his era. However, the spotlight could not mask the turbulence in his personal life. Anderson was married twice, first to actress Carol Lee Ladd, and later to Catherine Thalberg, daughter of producer Irving Thalberg and actress Norma Shearer. Both marriages ended in divorce. According to family members and close friends, Anderson struggled with fidelity, maintaining a string of extramarital affairs, especially during his marriage to Carol Lee. Behind the scenes, whispers circulated that he had used his status in Hollywood to undercut rivals, obstruct careers, and manipulate media narratives in order to keep his own name untarnished. While never publicly confirmed, such stories added a layer of controversy to his otherwise polished public image. On August 31, 2017, Richard Anderson passed away in Beverly Hills, California, at the age of 91. The cause was attributed to age-related complications. He is remembered by fans of classic television as one of the defining icons of American TV in the second half of the 20th century. Robert Carnes, as Father Esteban. Robert Anthony Carnes was born on June 19, 1917, in Kentucky, United States. In 1965, when he was 48 years old, he portrayed Father Esteban in The Big Valley, a deeply symbolic role as a gentle, dignified priest, bringing moral clarity to the wild western frontier. But beneath the priestly robes on screen, Carnes's real life was filled with shadows. Carnes served his country during World War II, touring the Pacific with Maurice Evans's theatrical production of Hamlet, entertaining troops while nurturing his dream of acting. After the war, he set his sights on Hollywood. He made his screen debut in 1946 in The Bamboo Blonde. But his rising career was abruptly derailed in the 1950s when he was swept up in the infamous Hollywood blacklist. Suspicions of past political associations, particularly connections to left-leaning individuals, led to his name being quietly removed from casting lists. Like many others during the Red Scare, Carnes became a casualty of the McCarthy-era paranoia, punished not for his talent, but for his supposed affiliations. Still, he refused to vanish. Reinventing himself on the stage and small screen, he found new life in television, appearing in popular series such as Gunsmoke, Bonanza, The Twilight Zone, The Fugitive, and Perry Mason. Though his roles were often supporting, Carnes brought a gravitas and intensity that made him memorable, even if his name was rarely top-billed. Behind the scenes, however, his behavior was increasingly erratic. Co-stars and crew members whispered about his drinking habits, and it became common knowledge that he would sometimes show up to set under the influence. He was particularly volatile around young actresses, and rumors of inappropriate advances swirled, though few were ever formally addressed. In the tightly controlled studio system of the time, such whispers were usually swept under the rug or silenced with a handshake and a clause in a contract. His personal life fared no better. His marriage dissolved in the early 1970s after years of emotional turmoil and infidelity. His ex-wife later accused him of long-term psychological abuse and described a household marked by manipulation and betrayal. Perhaps most painful was his estranged relationship with his only son. In one of the few interviews ever given about his father, the son described him as a stranger who preached morality but never lived by it, a stinging indictment that seemed to haunt the actor in his final years. Carnes never publicly responded to the accusations, nor did he offer much insight into his private struggles. Instead, he withdrew. As the roles became fewer and the spotlight faded, he slipped into a quiet life marked by depression, alcohol, and an ever-growing sense of isolation. His final screen appearance came in the TV movie Bogey, a small role that served as a distant echo of a once promising career. On December 4, 1979, Robert Carnes died of heart failure at his home in Sherman Oaks, California, at the age of 62. He passed away quietly, just as his final years had been lived, in the shadows. The stars of the Big Valley left behind unforgettable legacies, even as their lives were marked by drama and tragedy. Who was your favorite character? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss more fascinating stories like these.